Welcome, everyone. This is Dr. Druanna Johnston with Druanna Mystic podcast. Hello, welcome. So we're going to be talking about my introduction to this new podcast channel on Podbean. Yes, I'm back on Podbean again. I know it's been years. I was on Podbean like almost every week for the longest time. But things kind of shifted and changed in my life. And, for the longest time, I was doing some other type of career, which was helping people to get their trust set up, um, their private trusts, and for them to become free and protect their assets. And somewhere along the line, it really worked for me greatly, but I was very unfulfilled in this type of work. I wasn't my all. And somehow life kind of transformed me into moving into crypto trading. And from there, I've been living on crypto for the past 2 years. So my life has totally moved into another song, you see. And from there, something just told me to start writing books about ancient historical true crime. I've always been fascinated with history, especially ancient history, and also those that actually perished, those who stood their ground, those who spoke their truth and said, hey, this is how it is, whether you like it or not, and going against a huge establishment such as the Catholic Church. And something just, I don't know, for some reason, I just started moving on this path a year ago. And from there on, I just started writing books and creating 3 to 4 series, different series, one on historical true crime, one on historical true crime paranormal, and one on the Unexplained, which I just started a month ago. So I'm pretty excited about that. It's all about history, everything. And this is something I learned even as a crypto trader. We study the charts, we study the historical patterns, how Bitcoin performed in a specific year, which kind of gives us an idea how it's going to perform this year. You know what I mean? If it's, especially during the bear market or bull market, how is it going to respond in some ways to the market, to the news? So history is very, very important. So I see it the same way with ancient history. Whatever we find in the past could possibly come back around again. And there's a saying, history may not be the same, but it does rhyme. I think I'm saying it right or wrong, but it does. History may not repeat exactly the same way, but it certainly does rhyme. That's what it is. And so by reading these books that I've created, or following this type of work, you're going to start to understand, wow, like Giordano Bruno, he was persecuted and executed for speaking his truth and believing that that we live in multi-universes and parallel realities. Oh my gosh. And he stood by those claims. And even though the Catholic Church, they say that they try to give him chances, he would not budge, because according to him, according to Bruno, if I end up giving giving this belief system away, then I've just given myself away. And then what is he going to do? That's what he was known by. That was his work, his life's mission. And then someone from a big institution comes around and says, no, you can't do that. You're not allowed to do that. And, we're starting to see the same thing happening in this modern age, with the big billionaires that own the publishing, the traditional publishing firms. You know what I mean? Like, and the same goes for even the filming industry, these billionaires that own the filming industry, and you see what happened in Hollywood, with the Epstein files. It was pretty atrocious. It was absolutely disgusting. But there's a lot of filmmakers that are, I think we call them indie filmmakers, just like indie authors, where they just decided to move out and say, you know what, we don't want to be a part of your crowd. We're going to create our own movement and independent filming, which I find to be very awesome. And it should be, and I believe that is very important, and it should be carried out. Same applies to the authors. The authors are getting a lot of hell right now because AI came out, even as assisted AI. And the traditional publishers are telling the authors, you're not allowed to do this, like trying to step in and acting all, hot, ha, ha. You can't do this and you can't do that. It kind of reminds me of Rome, the Roman Empire. And yes, AI is making its way. It's helping many authors brainstorm, do research, format their novels and things like that. And there was actually one guy, I mean, there's many of them, but one guy, he ended up from Nigeria, I believe. The publishing company was going to give him a deal for $2.2 million. And then when they said, well, we decided we're not going to move forward with the deal because, we think it's AI. And he lost the contract entirely. And he said all he did was use it for, research, brainstorming, formatting, all that, but that was it. So the thing is, they're very hypocritical, these traditional publishing companies, is because they're using it themselves. Same with Amazon. They're using AI themselves. And many people are getting thrown out of KDP. They're getting thrown out, just automatically receiving a email saying your account's been terminated, and the rest is history. Okay. So there's a lot going on, and it all has to do with who? The billionaires, the ones that are at the top, the one that makes the rules, the one that tells you what you should do and what you shouldn't do. And it's not much different. Like I said, it's not much different from back in the medieval days and back in the Renaissance days. You know what I mean? So that's why I decided to create these books, which is having to do with investigation. It's like we're opening up a case file with each book, and we're reopening it because it is a case. It should be treated as a case file. I'll tell you right now, if you hear about Hypatia's situation, how she was brutally murdered by a mob of Christian men, and how they did it, and let's say it happened in this modern age, what would happen? There'd be a case against these people. There would be a lawsuit against these people. These people would go to court. And what happened after Hypatia was eliminated, pretty much, no one paid the price. They allowed this to happen, all in the name of Jesus Christ, all in the name of their God. Okay. And it has nothing to do with God or Jesus. It has everything to do with man's creation, man's belief system, which is absolutely, it sickens you. There is a movie on Hypatia's life that I highly recommend you should watch. It's called Agora with Rachel Weisz. It will blow your mind how immature these people are, how they thought back then, and how absolutely ridiculous they were. So it's something that you might want to check out. And I have a book on that as well. I've written a book, it's about 400 pages long, and it goes really into her life, who she was as a human being. And, she was born in Alexandria, Egypt, where Rome actually ruled that area at the time. And it's funny because it was during the time that Cleopatra died is when Hypatia was born. Isn't that strange? And sometimes I think, she kind of carries the strength of Cleopatra. You know what I mean? That's just how I see it. And she was part of an aristocracy because her father, Theon, was a master mathematician, astronomer. He was into philosophy and pretty much taught Hypatia everything she knew. And back in the day, it was not seen very highly of a woman to be in such a strong position. And therefore, she became a target for the Christian mob because she decided, I'm not going to go along with your bullshit. Sorry. I'm not going to go along with your baloney. I'm a woman and I believe in philosophy and I'm a teacher and I love what I do. And, she was a master mathematician. And she also believed, a lot of the mathematicians back then actually believed if you can master mathematics, that means you're getting closer to the spirit world. They actually believed that. And many of them were Neoplatonists, where they actually believed in the one, the all. And which is, they don't see it as God, they see it as the one, the all, that we come from the one. And for them to come up with this belief system is very similar to Buddhism, because in Buddhism they believe the same thing. We come from the all, we are the one, we are all that is. We are all one. And I've heard that before. We are all one and we are all that is, whether we like it or not. And therefore our reality is simply a projection of the things that we don't like, but it's all coming from inside of us. It everything that's happening outside in our external world, we actually created that. And that way we have the power to create something new that we really, really want in our lives. So there you go. That's why I ended up creating the History Under Investigation. You can check it out, my website, historyunderinvestigation.com. So yeah, I wanted to just touch on this point, and because I know I have a lot of students that I've taught in the secure creditor world many years ago, for about 15 years, and I was really known on YouTube, and things happened. My YouTube channel was taken down. I had over 100,000 subscribers, and YouTube decided, well, you know what? One of your videos was against our community guidelines, and so they not only took one video down, they took down the whole channel. And it happened shortly before the COVID thing that happened. This happened in 2018 when they took my stuff down. And it was shortly after they sent me the silver button. Like, okay, great. And I really busted my butt to build that channel. And then I realized, and then after that, I just kind of lost steam. I lost, any type of interest in it anymore. And I tried to resurrect it by going to Rumble. And I was on Rumble for a while, but Rumble didn't give me exactly the same amount of views and audience that I was used to. I was very used to that. And I was taken care of by YouTube for 15 years. I didn't have to worry. We traveled the world. We've actually traveled the world, and we lived in a couple other countries. It was very, very exciting. We lived the life like millionaires for that duration of time. And so since then, it has been very difficult to try to resurrect, try to build back my audience in the secure creditor world. And because the AIs, they're kill bots. If you talk about secure creditor, you talk about anything to protect yourself and sovereignty, they got kill bots already ready to basically say, oh, it's a scam. Don't even believe in that. You're going to get in trouble. And, if you're, because you're a US citizen and blah, blah, blah. So, because I was wondering, and I was actually talking to somebody about this who does the secure creditor thing as well. And he goes, I don't understand what's going on. He's like, 2017 was like the year. Like my business really blew up. And then shortly after that, my business started to go down. Like it's just hard to get any clients at all. And I'm realizing, I'm like, well, no kidding. That's the same thing that's happening to me too. It's because what people will do is they'll type in, is it safe for me to be a secure creditor, or should I get a foreign grantor trust? And then the kill bot will say, no, it's not a good idea. It's against the law. You shouldn't be doing that. You should not be doing that. You should accept Jesus Christ. You know what I mean? that's where we're going right now. Information, really powerful information, should be protected, savored in books. If it cannot be protected in articles, it can be protected in books. That's why I see books are so important, not only in Kindle format, but paperback is better, because paperback is in your hands. And they could any day, Amazon could say, oh, your account's terminated. You can't have Kindle books anymore. You can't have ebooks anymore. That's why I always, even if I get an ebook, I always buy a paperback if I really appreciate the book. And I make sure of it, because I want to savor and I want to save all the paperback that has powerful, valid information, because that information is being taken down. Okay. So this is the reason why I created this podcast. Why I say Druanna the Mystic is because I am a metaphysician. I have double doctorates in metaphysical science and metaphysical psychology. I'm also a tarot reader, an intuitive, an occultist. I've also written a couple books in the occult. And I am definitely a philosopher, philosopher, author. And that's what I do. That's my love, but I figured, I don't want to box myself into, history under investigation only. I want Druanna Mystic podcast is encompassing history under investigation, true crime, paranormal, the occult, all of that. Okay. And every now and then I'll probably throw in some tarot readings as well to basically give you a reading. And it's only for those, if it vibes with you or not, you would take what resonates and leave what doesn't. Okay. But I do tarot readings. I'm also an astrologer in real sky astrology, which is also known as true sidereal astrology. Okay. So anyway, I just wanted to give you the introduction about who I am, what I'm doing, where this channel is going to be going. And on YouTube, you're going to find that it's going to be audio cast only. It's not going to be video. Everything is going to be audio cast on YouTube Music Library, all over Spotify, Apple, all the other places that my podcast is being distributed to. And that is the way I'm going now. I'm moving towards. I also have a Rumble channel if you want to go check that out. You can go to Rumble. I'll have it in the description below, all that information. And you can also find me on Substack too, as well, if you want to subscribe to my channel there. All right. So I hope this helps you out and to understand exactly what's going on. And, if you want to check out my books, they're all there on historyunderinvestigation.com. And I'm currently working on the Unexplained series portion right now, which I'm pretty excited about, because we're moving into the Anunnaki, the Sumerians, and Atlantis. I mean, just to name a couple. It's going to be exciting. And it's all about exploration and opening case files for those ancient times and those ancient lost civilizations. Like, what happened to them back then? Yeah, so, all right, I'm going to wrap this up. Much love and light. And I will see you in the next session. The next one, I'm going to be going over Hypatia, really talking about her and reading about her life and everything, because she is case file 001. Okay, so I'll be reading through all the case files of every series that I have just for you to sink your teeth into. All right, take care. Much love and light. Bye for now.